Hey guys, welcome into Believe in Eagles. I'm your host, Lee Mayock, and with us once again, this lovely NFL Week 6 is my dad, former GM, current Dad of the Year, Mike Mayock. Woohoo, everyone! How you doing
Hi,
today?
Lee. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good.
Um, so I know you and I just had dinner together the other day, and it was during a Phillies game. And I told all my friends we weren't allowed to watch another Phillies game together because they lost big time to the Mets. We tried that last night, but they lost again. So we're kind of in a little depressive Philadelphia sports days once again, and we are hoping that the Eagles can pick the spirit of this city up and put it on their backs and ride it to the Super Bowl. Because if they don't, Philadelphia is just going to be depressed once again.
Yeah, it's hard because Mandy and I were out to dinner with one of my high school football teammates last night, Bobby Gaskell,
Mm-hmm.
and we were kind of sitting in a bar looking across the street where all the windows were open and massive TVs were on in the other bar, and people were spilling out the door watching the Phillies game.
Right?
And we were talking about how much energy is in the city of Philadelphia when the sports teams are winning. And by the end of our dinner, it's like the Phillies are losing 4-1 and the season is over. And to your point, that kind of gets us back to the Eagles now. Um, and they're, I think, 3-8 in their last 11 games. So the city has pretty much forgotten about the Super Bowl of 22 and kind of putting the thumb on Nick Sirianni and the Eagles about winning games. And I think the last point is that last week we talked about the upcoming schedule, and it's favorable, but the Eagles have to take advantage. They got 4 winnable games in a row before I think they have Dallas and Washington has become a different conversation. So the Eagles need to start this week, and they need to beat Cleveland, and they need to take advantage of that schedule.
I mean, the good thing. So, what the good on our side is that we should have AJ Brown, Devontae Smith. Who else?
Lane
Lane
Johnson.
Johnson. Everyone should be back. Everyone should be a little bit rejuvenated. Hopefully, everyone's mind is right. Going into this Cleveland game, what do you expect to see?
Well, it's interesting because you and I talked about what do you do in an open week last week,
Yep.
right? And point number one was you got to get healthy, and they've gotten healthy. They're about as healthy as they've been all year. They're actually even started the practice window for Sidney Brown and Anaya Smith. So 2 of their players could come back in the next 3 weeks. And Sidney Brown, I think, is an important one in the conversation. And then, two, we talked about defensively and use of personnel. Will there be any changes? And we specifically talked about Cooper DeJean starting at nickel, and I think that's going to happen.
And that's over
So,
Avonte Maddox, correct?
correct, over
Mm-hmm.
Maddox. And so I think if you're an Eagles fan, and obviously if you're probably an Eagles fan if you're watching this podcast,
We have a trickle of Raiders real ones that watch us, Dad, which is very
uh,
nice. Isn't that nice?
yeah, it is nice. I mean, there's an old saying, once a Raider, always a Raider.
No,
And
that's not the saying. It's Raider Nation for life. Oh no, it
no,
is.
well,
It's you're right. You're right.
sometimes you,
Once Raider, always Raider. You're right. That's right.
what did you say? What,
Raider
what was your
Nation for
term?
life. That's what you say. Like hashtag. There's like a hashtag for it online. But you're right. You're right. Okay, you're right.
Whatever, you know?
But no, it's really cool. They and we really do have a solid little cohort of Raiders real ones that stuck with us. I think it's because
Well,
they still thank you for drafting Max Crosby.
well, Max has become just a super personality, one of the best players in the league. And he missed his first game last week, and I know it drove him crazy. I texted him. And it drove it, but he's always got the attitude like it's all for the best,
Hmm.
and I'm going to come back and be a beast.
Right.
And he came back last week and had 2 sacks against Denver. And
Do you think we
you know,
have enough people like that on the Eagles?
uh, as far as personality, I mean, leadership is it's one of my favorite topics.
I
And
know because everything that you talk to me about is basically a leadership quote. I ask you for advice, you give me a leadership quote.
I think you got to have things you believe in your life. And I've always believed in the power of leadership, and leadership can be good or bad. If you got the wrong kind of leaders, it can take you down the wrong path. So,
It's ridiculous the way I've seen it in my life and other people's lives. The wrong leadership, the wrong coaches can just
yeah.
like unfortunately ruin things for you because people are in positions of power. And a lot of people are the people looking for leadership are obviously looking for help, advice, something. And it's so crazy how it can go either way. Like, I know you've seen a bunch of players who, under the right coaching and tutelage, have skyrocketed their careers coming from coaches who said there's nothing left for them. They're not going to make it in the league.
Look, leadership is all pervasive. It's not just sports. I mean, look at our country right now. I believe we have a leadership vacuum in our country, and we have for a while. I'm not even political, but I get frustrated watching all the knuckleheads running for president right
All
now.
the
And
knuckleheads. Who's worse,
so
the knuckleheads running for president or the shitbirds that I date?
I don't think you want me going
No,
there.
I'm just kidding.
Yes,
Good.
good.
Back to the
No,
Eagles.
but
Back to the leadership
let's
on the
yeah,
Eagles.
let's it's I mean, the leadership thing is amazing. And for the Raiders fans out there, when we went to the playoffs in 21, it reinforced to me Rich Bisaccia was such a strong leader. And it had nothing to do with being a special teams coach or a position coach or an offensive guy or a defensive guy. He is a natural leader. And I believe in that. Max Crosby is a natural leader. Every good team I've ever been around has a group of them. And, you talk about the Eagles right now, and, they started out 10-1 last year and played awful football after that the rest of the season.
BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. Head to the website and get in on all the action. All I know is that I'm always betting on Max Crosby, never against, and I'm always betting on a team with great leadership. What do you think's going on with the Eagles there?
Well, leadership's a hard thing. It can be good and bad. You and I have talked about that in the past. And because of what happened last year, you're coming off a Super Bowl. You start the season 10-1, and then you play awful football the rest of the season. Now you fire your coordinators, you bring in new ones. So two new leaders, one on each side of the ball. And they're at a point I think is a critical juncture. They're 2-2. They haven't played real well. They have new coordinators, but they're getting healthy. Okay. And they've got an easy part of their schedule coming up. So these next 4 weeks, we're going to find out about their leadership. We're going to find out about Nick Sirianni. We're going to find out about Kellen Moore. We're going to find out about Vic Fangio. Okay. They've got to win football games now. And leadership's got a huge, and it comes from obviously management, but also the players. Jalen Hurts, he's got to be a positive leader. It'll be interesting for me to see how they play on defense. Who steps up? Who are the natural leaders on that side? I don't know the answers to that.
I was looking at the remaining undefeated teams right now. That's the Chiefs and that is the Vikings. And the leadership and I think the fit between their coaches, their head coach, and their quarterbacks they're clearly onto something. The Vikings were not expecting to have to roll with Sam Darnold, but Kevin O'Connell and he have clearly led the team. They're 5-0 right now after a game in London. Obviously, Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes, they have a magical system going on. How important do you think, especially right in the league, how it is right now, the fit, the trust, and the leadership between your quarterback and your head coach?
Look, if you want to play at a high level in the NFL, You need three things. You need an ownership group that is positive and reinforces, hires good people and lets them do their job. The head coach and the GM have to be on the same page, and you need a good quarterback, a franchise quarterback, right? And Andy Reid and Mahomes are the epitome of that. They're both Hall of Fame people. Um, the Minnesota situation is really cool. They've done a great job. Kevin is like one of the nicest guys in the world, but he also is a very intense and smart man and a natural leader. I give Darnold a ton of credit for coming in and doing what he's done because now the fit, he's got a good fit. He's got a quarterback, coach, head coach that gets him, puts him in a position to win. And the thing we're missing on both of those teams is they both have amazing defensive coordinators. In Kansas City, Steve Spagnuolo is one of the best coaches in the entire league. And in Minnesota, Brian Flores is one of the best coaches in the entire league. And they're both leaders. So it all fits together. And that's why they're both undefeated.
Okay, so it's not looking like that's the case in Cleveland, who the Eagles are facing this week. Obviously, we're huge fans of the Stefanskis. Head coach Kevin Stefanski, an incredible coach, but it looks like they're struggling with their quarterback. They're struggling with a lot of things. What do you see? What's going on in their building? What do you think?
Tough times. I mean, Kevin, we love the Stefanski family. They're Philly people. Kevin went to St. Joe Prep. His dad went to Monsignor Bonner and became a GM in the NBA.
Ed the Shot, right?
Eddie the Shot Stefanski. And in typical Philly fashion, they call him the Shot because he couldn't shoot.
That is so Philly.
It's so Philly. And that was his nickname at Penn when he was a starting guard at Penn, Eddie the Shot Stefanski. I think the point guard, the guard next to him was Eddie Enoch from Penn Charter.
What did they call him?
The Ed.
Oh, okay.
They were a really good basketball team. They were fun to watch. But anyway,
at Penn?
They were really good. Penn and Villanova were really good back in that day. But anyway,
Cleveland.
Kevin Stefanski is a two-time coach of the year. He hasn't forgotten how to coach.
Right.
His defensive coordinator is Jim Schwartz, former
Right.
Eagles defensive coach. He hasn't forgotten how to coach. The biggest friggin' issue there is the quarterback. Mm-hmm. Deshaun Watson, the amount of guaranteed money they paid him and the return on that investment is zero. And if Deshaun Watson doesn't play better, they're going to turn to Jameis Winston, and it'll probably be pretty soon. And I even feel like, if I'm the Eagles, I want to jump all over Deshaun Watson early this week because he's been sacked more than any quarterback in the league. People are questioning his competitors. The guys in Washington last week were saying after the game he has no confidence. He's a guy playing without confidence. So the Eagles want to jump on him, keep him down. I would not be surprised if he starts poorly, if we ended up seeing Jameis Winston at some point, because it's unless the owner is telling Stefanski he can't play, he's got to play Deshaun Watson the whole way. It's not sustainable the way Watson's playing. They're going to have to go to Winston if it continues.
Okay, so that's pretty much the keys to the defense for the game, you would say, right? So what about the offense? What are we up against the Cleveland Browns?
Oh, they've got one of the best players in the league in Myles Garrett. And I was at their joint practice, not this training camp, the year before. The Browns and the Eagles had a joint practice. I think it was mostly because Kevin wanted to get home and play Marion in between practices.
Did you play with him?
No, but I was down at practice talking with him. He was playing with his brothers, like a Stefanski foursome, I think.
That's fun.
But, I mean, Myles Garrett, nobody can block Myles Garrett 101. So the Eagles have to have a game plan for Myles Garrett. We talked last week about Kellen Moore's whole thing is they have not started fast. So they have to start fast on offense. How do you do that? Well, Barkley's been your best player. Don't forget about him, please, early in the game. You also want to get your two wideouts who are healthy now back in the game early. So A.J. Brown, he's always better when you feed him early. Smith, one of my favorite players in the league. Get him going. So obviously, quote, you have a lot of mouths to feed, but it's up to Kellen Moore to get this offense going quickly. And I think that's a key to the game. Do they get points on the board in the first two possessions?
Should our run game be fine? What? How do they? How's their defense defending the run?
Their D line's pretty good. Their linebackers are probably their most active players. They got a kid from Notre Dame named Jeremiah Owusu Karamosa, and he's really quick and active. The corners have not played
Mm-hmm.
well. I think they can challenge Emerson. They can challenge Ward. I think they can challenge those corners. But at the end of the day, you can't do what happened at Tampa, start slow and forget about Saquon Barkley. It's just it's on Kellen Moore to figure out the best way to get these guys going.
And you mentioned corners, so it made me think of the Eagles' defensive backs. You mentioned Cooper DeJean earlier; he's going to be a nickel. Is there any? Do you foresee any other changes there, or do you think this is a good system going forward with them there?
I think it'll be interesting to see what they do with their defensive ends. They've got no production. I mean, Brandon Graham has probably been their best defensive end, and he's 100 years old.
He's not 100.
Um,
Honestly, you're being ageist. And last week you said he had gray in his beard. This week you said he's 100. The man might play again next season. Like, give him some credit.
I am. I just said he's been their best defensive end, despite despite being in Philadelphia in football terms really old. I
So
mean,
crazy.
they got to get Bryce Huff playing. They got to get Josh Sweat playing. They got to get Nolan Smith
Oh,
playing.
that reminds me too. So Devin White's been released. Why? He didn't play
Because
a snap.
Zach
I know
Bond,
he didn't play a snap, but is it because Zach Bond played so well? Is it
Zach
because
Bond's playing his butt off.
Mhm.
N'Kobe Dean's playing pretty well, and he's a young guy. I'm sure Devin was not happy about what was going on,
Okay.
and I'm sure that Devin and Howie and his agent probably had a conversation during this bye week. There's a lot of rules about how you have to pay veterans a full salary and once the trading deadline passes, every veteran, if you cut him, has to go through waivers. So the veteran has no say where he's going. At this point, before the trade deadline, if you cut a veteran now, a vested veteran now, he can go anywhere he wants. So I'm sure they had a conversation to try to help him get to where he wants to go. And maybe he gave up on a few financial things, guarantees, but
Okay.
it was probably the best interest of both parties.
Okay. Because he's good. He can still move.
Well, he got beat out by two people and he didn't play well at the end of the Tampa thing.
Okay.
So again, the question is he has to get to the right place
Right.
and show he's got gas left in the tank.
Okay. So are you interested in anything else on the defensive side in terms of personnel strategy?
I'd be interested to see if the young corners get any kind of run. The fourth round pick, Keely Ringo and Eli Ricks, are both long, talented kids in their second year. Darius Slay is 32, 33 years old. So it'll be interesting to me. And obviously, it's going to be Slay and Quinyon Mitchell outside, and I think it's going to be DeJean inside. But I'll be interested to see if those other two guys show up at all, because ultimately, Slay's getting pretty old too.
Jeez. People are in their 30s. It's very young, very young. But I know in football terms, not. Okay. But I know we have to get moving, but I have a couple mailbag questions from the listeners for you, specifically for you. We'll be quick. Favorite hobby outside of football?
Golf. I suck,
Oh,
and
wait.
I'm
So,
working.
yeah, tell the people. How have you've been cleared to swing a little bit? How's that?
People don't care. I just suck at golf, and now that my hip is good, I'm going to get out there and work hard at it and try and get better. That's become like my new, watch tape all morning long and then go hit golf balls.
Go-to karaoke song.
Hmm?
What's your go-to karaoke song if you were to karaoke?
Don't have one.
You can't think of anything?
Funkadelics.
That's what I was thinking you would say. You've
Or,
never met a
or
microphone on a dance floor that you didn't love, so I don't know why you're acting coy about a song.
We Funk, WEFUNK, better known as We Funk. Better still, the Mothership Connection, coming to you on 5,000 kilowatts of P-Funk power. Gangster lean, bet you all dig my sunroof top. My name is Lollipop, better known as a long-haired sucker. Doing it to you in your ear here on WEFUNK. And my daughter's doing what she's always done at weddings when I started in on that.
I just
So,
regret asking you that question. I knew the result, and I knew I shouldn't have done that.
said M-A-S, a T-E-R, a G with the double E.
I
I
said I
said, I
go
go
by the
by the
unforgettable name
unforgettable
of
name.
the
Oh,
man
the
they
man
call
they
the
call the
Master
Master
Chief.
Chief. Well, my name is known all over the world to all the foxy ladies and the pretty girls.
I'm
I'm
going
going
down
down
in
in
history as
history
the
as the
baddest
baddest
brother
brother
there
you
ever
ever
could
could
be.
be. I feel in the highs. I feel. Okay, that's enough. I'm done.
I just wanted, for the record, I've never listened to that song on my own. I only know those words because they've been drilled into my head because that man right there on your screen sung it at
Hey,
every opportunity he had to embarrass me.
I've got 6 younger brothers and sisters, and if the 7 of us get to a wedding, you know that's all coming out.
It's horrible. A couple people asked for my hand in marriage to you. And I think we might be along the lines of having to accept.
You know what, hon? You really don't want me to get going on this
We
topic,
don't
so
have time for that.
we shouldn't have even brought that
We
one
do
up.
not have time for that. If you weren't a GM or media personality, what would your job have been?
High school football coach, like Pop.
You still could do that,
Never
but
know.
it might cut into your golf time.
Exactly.
Um, some of these are really funny. Which teams will make it to the Super Bowl this year?
You can't bet against Kansas City. They're chasing history, going for a third in a row. So I love. I'm an Andy Reid fan and always have been. So I think it's really hard to discount them. Um, I think the NFC right now is wide open, despite the fact that Minnesota's 5-0. Is that sustainable? Sam Darnold, can he take you to a Super Bowl? I don't know the answer to that. San Francisco's down, Philly's down. I don't think Atlanta's as good as people think. So I think the NFC right now is wide open, and that's good news for the Eagles.
Oh, I love that. So I kind of think that you're saying Eagles, Chiefs.
No, I'm kind of saying that I think the AFC is more talented, but more good teams. But I think the NFC is wide open, and if Philly can get their crap together, why not them?
All right. I like it. There's so many more mailbag questions. I feel like we should do a full episode of them one time because they're the most fun. But I know you have people to see, places to go. Thank you so much for your time. I'm also going to Barry's boot camp right now. I'm hoping that they have some modifiers for someone with a broken toe. So fingers crossed for that. But thanks for being with us. We'll see how this week goes.
You got it.
Bye,
Thanks,
Dad.
hon.
Love you. Thanks.
You too. Bye bye.